Alright guys, today I'm going to be talking about the Ukraine chemtrails, weather modification, and gun control. I'd like to thank Dabu77 for allowing me to see this video, because I would not have made this connection without this video. The picture that you see right here in front of you is what led me on this path. So, the Blivet card, the Devil's Fork. If you'll notice, the three-pronged object in this card is very similar to this. So, at first I was kind of like, maybe, maybe not. I'll look into it to see if there's any anything there. And so I went ahead and looked up the Blivet and started doing research on it, and it wasn't until I got to the very end when I found out the alternative names, and we find out that it's also called the ambiguous trident. And what's significant about that is the Trezub, the Ukrainian trident, and the fact that they're going to call it Operation Rapid Trident. So that to me is enough to put this card in with the Ukraine. It may not be enough for you, but for me that's more than enough. If it means something else, please tell me. If you figured it out, or if you know something else about this, don't hesitate to put it in the comments, because that's how we learn. Next up, weather modification. If you'll notice, this card reads weather satellite, and the first sentence says real weather satellites don't just report the weather, they change it. I'd like to remind you, these cards were made in 1995. Anybody who doesn't believe in weather modification or chemtrails just needs to do a little research on Operation Popeye. They've been doing this since the 60s, 50s. There's well over 200 patents on chemtrails if you care to do the research. International Weather Organization. Again, these cards were printed in 1995. Here you'll see a plane that's dragging what appears to be a cloud behind it. Underneath it, there's a tornado. Again, if you need to learn anything about this, just look up climate engineering. Air Magic, another card hinting to the ability to control the weather. It says play this card to help protect a place against any disaster except earthquake or volcano. So apparently they're talking about weather disasters. This is HARP, and I just wanted to point out what I visualize when I see a HARP, or what is the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of HARP. And that is pretty much what we probably all think of first, and that is an angel playing in the clouds, playing a harp in the clouds. So another play on words for the military. But I don't think HARP is just weather modification. I think it's more sinister than that. But I'm not going to get into that in this video. Gun confiscation. This card right here is probably the most hard to believe out of any of the cards, but there's so much pointing to what this was, and that is the Holmes incident at Century 16. If you look at the gentleman, he looks kind of like the Joker. He's got a noose on his neck, he's got a watch on his wrist, and about half of his face is darkened. Now what that tells me is that's symbolic of the Hangman from the Batman. That's symbolic of the Joker because of his purple suit. That's symbolic of the Clock King, a villain of Batman, and it's also symbolic of Two-Face. And if you'll look over here, well, first of all, the incident happened shortly after midnight, the clock is shortly after midnight. And we know that it's midnight because it's dark outside. If you look over here, we have 16 dots. 4 rows of 4, and that's 16. So that's hinting to the number 16. Century 16 is the name of the place. If you'll look right here at this cross right here and this cross right here, they're both on the card. They're backwards, but they're both there. Moving on, this was in a comic, an actual comic that was printed. I forget the name of the comic. If you want to do research on that, you can. But and a lot of you probably heard this. This was a story actually in the mainstream news. So that's another hint. And notice the orange hair of the villain in the movie theater, in the Batman comic. And it leads to an attempt at gun control. So far they have been unsuccessful. This is the Clock King. This is the Joker. That's Two-Face and the Hangman. So whether or not that's what this card is representing, I'm not going to say for 100% sure, but I am going to say there is quite a few coincidences. Thanks for listening.